No, it's been a big night for giant killings tonight, which is why we've got Laurie Sanchez in the studio, and also why we made provision to bringing someone who knows all about turning over the big teams. It is Ian Holloway. He's on the phone. I'm pleased to say good evening to you, Ian.
Evening, Darren. You okay?
Yes,
Sorry,
I am
Wayne.
indeed.
Hi, Ollie. You right?
How are you? Now, you've been obviously watching the games tonight with us. Laurie made a really good point when we were talking about just what the coaches may have said. You guys are all very adept at being able to inspire your players. And he said, look, it's all about telling the players that you're playing for your country tonight. Is that the kind of team talk you'd have given them as well?
I think they've got to realise that the responsibility they've got, you know, because every one of us back here would be running till our hearts burst. You know, I think it is a really important point. You have to make them understand the responsibility they've got. Obviously, I've only been a club manager, but that's what I try and do. But, you know, I think tonight was so amazing. That group could have gone any way, which way, shape or form, and it went probably the way that we didn't expect. So, you know, that's fantastic for those two teams. It's terrible for the other two teams, and unfortunately for myself, I'm sort of feeling a little bit like the ones who've lost. What happened to me at the end of last year.
Tell us, elaborate on that for us, Ian.
Yeah, obviously we played West Ham and we lost 2-1. They scored in the 88th minute. We were playing very well, I thought, and unfortunately they've gone to the Premier League and we haven't. But you know, that's just the way it is. Over the course of the season, they beat us by quite a few goals and a few points. But you know, in that one game and that one off, we gave a good account of ourselves. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. So, you know, I understand how those losers feel.
Yeah, I mean,
tonight, but
well, interesting, isn't it, Ian? Because I think with the teams tonight, it's all been about attitude, hasn't it? Who wants it the most? And very often your teams show us that they want it a great deal. I wonder whether the Russians and the Poles, I think less so for the Poles, I think they may be rabbits in headlights, but the Russians, how much did they want it tonight, in your opinion?
Well, I think they were in an awkward situation. You know, they felt that a draw would do them. When you know you've got to win, I think it's a little bit easier. Yeah, okay, the pressure's on you, but you know, when you've got to be a little bit careful. You know, if you go too gung ho, you can leave yourself open and you let a goal in. And you know, as it happened, you know, Greece managed to pull themselves out of it. The Czech Republic lost in the first game 4-1, yet they're still through. It just goes to show that, you know, really, truthfully speaking, it's a fantastic tournament. You know, we were all expecting it to liven up in the elimination stages, but it's already happened tonight. It's been fantastic.
Ian, is this a warning for England? You mentioned about the Russians trying to play for the draw. England only need a draw against Ukraine. Is this a warning to them not to try and go out to get the draw, but to go all out for the win?
I think Roy will be doing that anyway. I think, you know, he's set his stall out at the moment. He's only just got the job. He wants to be hard to beat and hard to break down, and you know, counter-attack and get good set pieces and score from those sort of situations. And you know, the lad showed great character last night to come back and from a situation of 2-1 down, it looked like we'd lost it all. But you know, I thought that was terrific. So you know, I wish us just to go out and try and get all 3 points. I think, you know, because if you definitely win, you haven't got a problem, have you? I think you should always try and win, and I think you should try and go out there and be really positive. It's very, very difficult if you only need 1 point. I think you've got to go out there with a mentality that we're going to beat whoever's in front of us, and obviously it's the Ukraine and it's their own, we're in the home nations, and I think, you know, Shevchenko's probably impressed me more than anyone in the tournament at the moment.
Ollie, tell us who you would pick to line up front for England on Tuesday. Obviously, we've got Rooney coming back, but Roy's going to go with him. Who would you like alongside him?
Listen, I'm glad it's not my job. Listen, I'm not in a position. I don't see him train. I'm not with him. I'm not. You got to feel it. You got to live it. It's easy for everyone else to.
Oh come on, Lauren. Oh come on, Ollie. Don't sit on the fence. Go on. Tell us who you'd pick.
No, I'm not. I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm not at all. I would go out to win it. I would probably, you know, the other week I would have done something slightly different to play Oxlade Chamberlain. I think I'd have started with Walcott just out of hierarchy, and you know the young lad's got to be on the bench. You know, but listen, Roy sees it how Roy sees it, and he's won 3, drawn 1. That's a good enough start for me, I tell you.
Do you think he's been quite brave in terms of he seems to have got a bit of a horses for courses policy, picking the team for the game rather than just sticking with the same team?
I think he needs to. Yeah, you know, obviously he knew more about France's record than I did. I was sick and fed up of hearing what a good side they are, what a great team they are. I'd rather us be talking in that fashion, but you know, he's got the information. Laurie will know himself. Once you get those stats, you've got to be very careful. You know their strengths. You've got to try and stop them. Particularly international football. I've never had the pleasure of doing that, and you know, the minute you lose one game, you've lost your career really. So you've got to be really careful. But you know, I want us to play in an expansive way. I want us to have the ball and pass it and move around, and I don't think it would be fair to actually expect Roy to be able to do that now. He's gone into a tournament situation in his 3rd game. He was given the job when Capello, I felt, should have been made to do this tournament. Roy could have been watching from the outside, planning on see how people do it. But now he's been thrust into it. He just finished his club season and he's got hardly any time to get things together. So I think it's been very, very encouraging so far. It's not what we all want to see, cohesive, attacking, flowing football, but you know, the skill that we saw on show, the skill that actually got us that win the other night was terrific. Well finish. Walcott, his exciting burst. You know, we need to play in between lines a little bit more, I think. And we got the talent to do it, but you know, I'm sure he'll get his organisation into that back 5 and the midfield 2 in front of them, and then we'll be able to go and attack. But we're not quite how we want it yet, and I'll take qualifying. So whatever it takes, I'll have that, and let's see how we get on in the quarterfinals.
Well, look, Ollie, thank you very, very much indeed for coming on. Really was a pleasure to have you, and hopefully we'll get you back on again very soon.